Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Intentional Living Guide, and publisher of Aspire magazine, Linda Joy. And I have to tell you, my special guest today has not only become a dear soul sister, she's a columnist for Aspire magazine, but she's personally helped me over the last 7 or 8 years really learn how to prioritize my way I treat myself. So I know many of us struggle with this, and you are in for a truly empowering conversation. And this is especially for those women who feel overwhelmed and exhausted, caring for everyone in your life except yourself. And I know some of you are raising your hand. And I know we all just wish to feel more empowered and joyful in our lives. Well, today, self-nurturing expert Kelley Grimes joins me to talk about transforming old patterns of self-neglect and overgiving, which is a big thing for women, into rejuvenating daily practices of self-nurturing so we, all of us can live with more peace, joy, and meaning. Again, Kelley is a counselor, speaker, international best-selling author, and I am honored to say is an expert columnist for Aspire magazine on the topic of self-nurturing. She's passionate about empowering overwhelmed and exhausted individuals to live with more peace, joy, and meaning through the practice of self-nurturing to heal and transform the world. She also provides professional and leadership development to organizations dedicated to making the world a better place. Her best-selling book, The Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning, empowers women to embrace the practice of self-nurturing so, again, they can live with more peace, joy, and meaning. I'm honored to be the publisher. Pick up a copy because it is a full resource of simple yet powerful practices that you can call into your life. Kelley, I am so happy that you're with me today. This is such an important conversation.
I am delighted. Thank you so much for inviting me, Linda.
Well, one of the things I want to talk about is, you're a counselor, you have been working along with your private practice with nonprofit organizations and supporting women for a long time. And I know from our personal conversations, you began seeing a pattern, right, of overgiving, of overwhelm. Is that what led you to focus on the message and the practices of self-nurturing?
Well, that was part of it, Linda, as well as my own lived experience. So I, like you and many, many women that are listening to this, was a professional nurturer. I nurtured my children, I nurtured my family, I nurtured folks at work, I nurtured my clients. I got so good at assessing everyone's needs and really showing up fully that I forgot about my own. And what I noticed is there was a pattern of that with women, that we started connecting our value and our worth to how we gave and supported other people, forgetting how important it was to include ourselves in that. So we started, I started seeing folks get into a real all or nothing mentality about caring for themselves. They either could totally support other people and not themselves, or they could take care of themselves and not support other people. And that didn't feel right. That wasn't in alignment. And I found that in my own life, that my caring for a daughter who had chronic health challenges and family members that needed support and other things, I got to a point where I had given more than I had, and my sense of exhaustion led to feeling depressed and not a real sense of purpose. And so I had one of those aha awakening moments where I thought, there's got to be something different. I felt so stuck, and I hear this over and over again from other women, just feeling stuck, knowing there's something more, but not quite knowing how to take that next step. So I thought to myself, what would it be? And joy came to my mind, that the antidote to this overwhelm, this exhaustion, this lack of meaning would be joy. And I set on a practice of inviting joy into my life every day and noticed such a tremendous healing and transformation and uplift from that. And then I started teaching these workshops thinking, okay, I think there's something here, but let me check it out for other women. And notice they had these big breakthroughs because what it shifted was a paradigm they had about themselves, not being worthy unless they were in that overgiving mode, starting to realize that they had much more resource, much more access rather to the resources within them of compassion and love and generosity and patience and all of these things when they included themselves in the way they understood nurturing. So that's where self nurturing and the art of self nurturing, it's really about progress, not perfection. It's not some ideal. It's almost coming back to the authentic way of knowing who we are, what we need, and how we feel, and attending to us in addition to all those people that we love in our lives.
I love this. And one of the greatest things I've witnessed, because you've guided me over the years, um, is when we're giving from a full cup, when we're aligned with joy, everything flows better. Our relationships, our connection to others, our connection to the world. So for those who say, oh, it's selfish, Kelly's helped me see that it's actually the opposite of selfish. And so speak on that for those who say, like it's a ripple effect, isn't it? When we
Yes,
honor ourselves.
it is. And actually, I want to speak to the word selfish. The word selfish really comes from a scarcity mindset. As if there's only so much, and so I can only have a little bit, and I have to give these other bits out. And I think we're really looking at a paradigm shift of seeing that it can be both and. We can be more expansive when we are connected to ourselves, when we are filling up. And so there isn't, we can almost step out of it being selfish into, oh my gosh, look at how much more present I am when I'm nurturing others now because I'm filled up and I'm not giving from the last drops of my cup, but giving from the overflow. I like to have metaphors because I think they're helpful for us to have some assessment of where we're at. So if you think about the reserve that's needed to live on this planet, not just to give and be supportive to others and ourselves, but to manage the stress and the challenges of life. If we look at our reserve as a cup, the more that we're filling up in an ongoing way, the more that we have then to draw upon for whatever it is to do creative, beautiful things in our businesses, to have fun and do joyful things with our family, to do the ongoing tasks, Linda, of like caring for our lives, right? The laundry, the cleaning, whatever those things, but that we bring an energy of intention, we bring an energy of love to what we're doing when we're filled up. What I've noticed is when we're not, we feel resentful. We feel a sense of have to instead of choosing to. And we end up over time feeling like it's a burden rather than a joy to show up in our lives. And so I just invite everybody to imagine that life can be um, more inspired, right? We're having this inspiring conversation. Like life can be more inspired when we're filled up and bring our whole selves to what we're doing, and can be discerning. We often get into people pleasing when we're in scarcity, right? I have to make everybody happy. When we're grounded, really nurturing a relationship with ourselves, we can tune in and say, is this the best thing for me and everyone else? Like, is this in our highest good to do this? You know, could I set a boundary here and support somebody later so that I can be in my most supported self before I go and, give over here. So I think it just allows consciousness in our giving, and it allows us to really be authentic when we're showing up with it. And people can tell the difference, Linda. People notice
Yeah.
when we're really present. People notice when we're lit up from within. People notice when we're caring for ourselves, and we can be beautiful role models for other people to support themselves and to have that positive. Like I really see this as how we transform and heal the world. Like that's my big vision, is that self-nurturing is how we transform and heal the world. Because when we come from that place, there's more kindness that flows from us. There's more compassion that flows from us. There's more peace, right? Because I can take a breath instead of being reactive from that place where I'm stressed out and overwhelmed. I can take a breath and say, what would be the best way to engage in this situation where I feel that there's conflict or something isn't in alignment? So I just think it's more hopeful for ourselves and our lives, and certainly for the world, for us to make a commitment to really nurture and care for ourselves.
So beautifully said, my friend. And before we head to our first break, there's one of your columns that you wrote called Out of Self-Nurturing, 5 Simple Ways to Prioritize You. There's a quote in it that I just always loved, and it says, when you choose to nurture a relationship with yourself, prioritizing you becomes an act of self-love, self-respect, and self-compassion. And I just love that word, act of, like we're taking action to call that in. And I just wanted to share that because that's always spoke to me. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to be back with Kelley Grimes, self-nurturing expert and the author of the bestseller, The Art of Self-Nurturing. You can learn more at cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am here with the one and only self-nurturing expert, Kelley Grimes. I always been dedicated to sharing Kelley's message, as much because of what it's done for my life, But the woman in the readers that we hear from Aspire Magazine, it seems like so many women are struggling with this. We've lost ourselves, Kelly. And your message in my heart and mind is bringing women back to center, right? Back to remembering that we have to show up fully for ourselves in order to be the best mom, partner, um, business owner, business employee. So for those who wonder what's the difference between self-care and self-nurturing is, could you give your thoughts on that?
I'm so glad that you asked me that because there is, in my mind, and there's a distinction really from the beginning, even before when I look at writing, because I've been a writer for over 30 years. When I look back at writing, I was writing about self-nurturing 30 years ago, even before I had this concept of weaving it in this intentional way into the work that I do in the world. And the distinction for me is that it really is about a relationship that you are cultivating with yourself. If you think about anyone in your life that's nurtured you, there's a deep sense of being valued and cherished and cared about and loved. It's bringing that sentiment, that action, love is an action word to our own self. And so it does that quote that you read before the break about self-respect, self-compassion, self-love. That's really rooted in this nurturing this relationship with ourselves. The way I look at self-care is it's the activities. So there's lots of self-care activities that aren't necessarily with the intention of nurturing ourselves. I hear from a lot of people, especially when they're struggling. I have a friend right now whose husband is going through cancer treatment, and she's caring for him around the clock. And the response that she's getting from people is, well, how are you caring for yourself? There's like a judgment in that versus, what's working for you right now? How, tell me about how you're able to support yourself given the fact that you're so dedicated to caring for your husband. There's a different energy about it. And I think that anything can be self-nurturing, Linda. I think that when you bring the intention of like a deep sense of honoring yourself to whatever it is that you do, it can be self-nurturing. And really listening to our bodies, listening to our needs, tuning into what would be most nurturing and supportive to us in any moment is how we get access there. That's like the first step toward doing that. We can do something, and I've had lots of clients tell me, like in the past, they understood self-care as, going to get their nails done or doing those things. But when they brought the intention of nurturing to it, it deepened the quality of the experience. It deepened the meaning of it. It deepened their sense of being filled up by it. It wasn't just an activity, it was almost a gift to themselves. I would say that when we nurture ourselves, we are intentionally saying we're important. And I've oftentimes seen that the more that people make a commitment to nurture themselves, the more they start valuing and really honoring themselves. And the more they do that, the easier it is to prioritize nurturing. So it ends up being a really positive, self-sustaining cycle when we take a step to do that. And we can do that in any time. One of the reasons I wrote my book as a field guide is I wanted people to have access at their fingertips to ways that they could nurture themselves. So you can flip through my book and, there's nurturing when we're challenged with grief. There's nurturing as a family. Sometimes we think that of self-nurturing as a solo act, and I think it can be a solo act if that's what serves you. It can be with your partner, it can be with your family, it can be with your friends, it can be in community. If you ever go to a music festival or something like that, it's like, oh, being with other people, joyful, listening to music is so self-nurturing, right? So it doesn't have to be an individual act. And we don't need to judge other people about what they're doing. I think bringing in curiosity and compassion and asking people, saying, I see what a difficult time you're having. Is there anything that I can do to support you? What I found is it's helpful to take a few moments in the morning before I get out of bed to breathe. I'm wondering what strategies help you. Like, I just think the conversation when it's about nurturing comes from like the energy of love. And
Mm,
I think sometimes care is the like a routine that we go through rather than bringing that energy of love to it. It doesn't have to be. And some people, if some people understand self-care the way I talk about self-nurturing, that's totally fine. I just wanted to open up the conversation so that we see, when I notice that I have a judgmental thought to myself and I pause and I say, you know what, Kelly, you've made a mistake, but you're not a mistake. Or I bring compassion to myself and saying, what did you learn? Yeah, that didn't go the way you wanted, but what did you learn from that? That's an act of self-nurturing, in a way that maybe I wouldn't understand that that's an act of self-care, because it's this relationship that I am really intentionally cultivating with myself.
mm. I love how you um, explain the nuances and the differences. So, what do you say to the women listening who do have a hard time prioritizing themselves, even though they know they need to and they want to?
Well, at the beginning, as I was teaching in small, workshop settings, I had a woman who said, I just, I have two little kids. They need me all the time. I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. And I said, well, what would it be like to say, mom gets 2 minutes by herself in the bathroom, of course, with the kids safe and everything, but what if you just started there? And she said, all right, I'll do that. And when she came back the next week, Linda, you would have thought the most monumental thing had happened. That one small act of self-nurturing, giving herself 2 minutes to use the bathroom by herself, elevated her priority in her own mind. And so there is a mindset shift to all of this. And it can happen in a very small way. You can say, I'm going to take 5 minutes to tune into how I'm feeling and what I need. Because sometimes when we've been um, caring for everybody but ourselves, we might even forget what we need and what we feel. Like we haven't been listening. So back to the gift of listening, I love the practice, Linda, of placing your hand on your heart. And for anyone who does any work around stress management, we know that oxytocin is a beautiful antidote to cortisol and adrenaline. And so just placing your hand on your heart, you can get a dose of oxytocin. They sometimes call it the hug hormone because that's what you feel when you hug somebody. But you can do this for yourself, placing your hand on your heart and just for a moment, pause and tune in. How am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? And the need could be as simple as, you know what? I think I need to drink some water. I need to stretch my body. I need to call a friend. Or, you know what? I might need to journal because I'm not sure, And even for 2 minutes, for 5 minutes, a very short time, what it does is it starts to almost reintroduce ourselves to ourselves, gives us a structure and spaciousness to reconnect. So I don't think it has to take a long period of time. I think mindfulness practices or tuning in practices, listening practices are a beautiful place to start. And just to give ourselves the space to become more important in our lives. Maybe prioritize is too big a word right at first, right? Because we've been prioritizing everything but ourselves, but just to start. And sometimes people will put maybe an alert on their phone so that, once an hour, they pause, they take a breath, they tune in. If that's too much, it could be in the morning before you wake up and then before you go to sleep, for 5 minutes just to tune in, take a few breaths, check in with how you feel. I also like the idea of when we place our hand on our heart, like asking, like, what is the wisdom of my heart right now? Just really simple. And then just listen. Like, what is the wisdom of my heart? Oh, the wisdom of my heart is I need to go to sleep. I'm tired. I need to take a rest, whatever it is. But it's just creating, like, cultivating spaces in our day to start to tune in. And I believe we have so much wisdom and insight within us. When we give space to listen, we're going to come up with ideas and ways to care for ourselves by just simply paying attention to what is within us.
I love that, listening, and I love the hand on the heart. That's something you taught me a long time ago because, and now I got to say something. I have come a long way, gal. But my emotional and spiritual well-being's always been priority. But listening to my physical body, so working with Kelly and tapping into her message, just that simple practice that she just shared, putting the hand on the heart. I started doing that a few years ago, just in the middle of my busy day. And there is something, Kelly, in that ritual, in that moment is like, oh, okay, Lynn, come down from your busy head for a moment and drop in. So, ladies, as simple as it sounds, it is so powerful. And Kelly, we're going to take our next break. And when we come back, I want to hear what some of your favorite self-nurturing practices are, my friend. And we'll be back in a moment, my friends. I'm with self-nurturing expert Kelley Grimes. She's a counselor, speaker, and international best-selling author. And we will be back in a moment with some more empowering content. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
It's time to begin the adventure of a lifetime by nurturing the most important relationship you will ever have, the relationship with yourself. Kelley Grimes, self-nurturing expert, speaker, and author of the bestseller, The Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning, shares that a self-nurturing practice is not about being perfect or completing another thing on your to-do list, but rather nurturing a relationship with yourself. In The Art of Self-Nurturing, you'll discover the inspiration, examples, reflective questions, and self-nurturing practices that will empower you to become the artist of your own life and see self-nurturing as an art form. Rather than living from obligation and overwhelm, you will learn to cultivate a life filled with self-compassion and self-love. Order your copy today at artofselfnurturingbook.com and receive the Self-Nurturing Starter Kit as a supportive gift.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me is Kelley Grimes. You can learn more at cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com. So, Kelly, I would love to hear, I love the hand on the heart, the importance of listening. What are some of your other favorite self-nurturing practices?
I think it can be really helpful to have a structure about how we think about nurturing ourselves. So I often think of body, mind, and spirit. It can be anything, but I'm going to use that to share some different ideas. For my body, I think it's really important for me to take walks. And especially if I can take walks in nature or just someplace out where there's trees or, wildlife or whatever. So I have committed to taking a walk every morning. And sometimes I don't have that much time. Like this morning, I think I took a walk for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. but just being out moving my body feels really nurturing. And it's definitely a way that I manage stress. So walking and being connected in nature, putting on music and dancing. I just love like having a dance party in the morning. It is so uplifting. And I encourage people to like create a nurturing playlist. Maybe some of them would be, calming, more grounded, but maybe some of them would be upbeat. So having music that you can connect and feel in your body. I love that. And I love laughing. I was thinking like, where does laughing fall? It could fall in mind, body, and spirit, but laughing, when my whole body is vibrating with joy that I feel in laughing, I feel so nurtured and filled up. And I feel connected to other people. Because usually I'm laughing with, other people. And so I would say those for my body. For my mind, I love meditation and I love mindfulness. And again, it doesn't have to be long. Before I get out of bed every morning, I practice probably 10 minutes of meditation in the morning. And with that, I set intention for my day. I think that's very much about the minds, like how is it that I want to feel for the day. And then for the mind, I do a lot of gratitude. I've often felt like gratitude has been my lifeboat in times where things have been very challenging in my life. And as many of us have experienced a lot of death and grief and trauma and challenges and other things. And being able to plug into gratitude and really be able to see the blessings around me. And that's been a very much a choice. Um, I think about when my mom had dementia, and every time I would go visit her, another aspect of her was gone. It was like these little mini deaths, and I felt so sad every time I went to see her. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go in and I'm going to look for the blessing. It could be the smallest blessing. It could be that she smiled when she saw me. It could be that she touched my hand or that I got to hug her, whatever it was. Normally they were very small blessings I was looking for because she really wasn't doing well. But oh my gosh, it made such a difference, Linda. It made the experience to be meaningful and nurturing and connecting, even though she didn't have the same capacity to connect with me as she did before she had dementia. So I was very, very grateful for gratitude and looking for blessings in those ways. And I think for the spirit, I sing. I sing with a small women's group. So we sing every week, sometimes a couple of times a week. And I find that to be very joyful and uplifting. I'm also very much about understanding that I am in a co-creative experience with the universe, like for my spirit to know that I, am not alone, that I am in process, that when things happen, that I can say, what's happened, how is this for the highest good? Sometimes it's like, I cannot see that in this moment, but I am open. I am open to see, that there could be something I don't see in this moment that actually could be leading me to something more hopeful or et cetera. And then art. Um, I'm currently doing a creatively fit certification, and it's all about using the process of creativity and art in a regular way, almost like we would want to be physically fit. But in this idea, it's like that we're creatively fit, that we're being creative in an ongoing way, not for the product, but for nurturing ourselves, for understanding ourselves, for learning about ourselves, for having more awe and wonder and meaning in our lives. And so that has been great. I have been doing all of the art exercises and things, and eventually we'll weave that into the work that I do with folks. But art and creativity in any kind, I think, is such a beautiful way to nurture our spirits.
I love all them, and I love the structure, the body, mind, spirit, because as you know from our personal conversations, um, I would always let the body stuff slide, right? But having that structure going, am I nurturing every part of who I am? Not just the spiritual and emotional, which is what I used to do. So I love that body, mind, spirit. So we know that we're always nurturing all aspects. So you do a lot in the world, right? And I know, you're a speaker, you're a workshop presenter, you go into organizations, which to me is major, that they're open to all of this to help their employees and team really embrace all aspects of who they are. So talk about that for a little while, about why you really love getting this message out into organizations, corporations who are making a difference in the world.
Yes, I love that part of the work that I get to do. I've worked in nonprofits, so I've had my own business for many years, and I've also worked for nonprofits. I work for the Epilepsy Foundation in San Diego, supervising their social work team. I work for Leap to Success as the director of organizational development. And so I worked for all these nonprofits, for my 30 years as a social worker. And the one thing that I've noticed is that people get burned out really quickly. They have compassion fatigue. They have vicarious trauma from supporting others that are in just these, really, really challenged places, and at different points on their own healing journey. And so when I started doing this work and doing workshops, I started offering it to nonprofits, knowing that the more grounded, the more filled up, the more intentional the staff is in nurturing themselves, the better the care for the clients, the more empowering the staff would be to the clients. And that's what we see over and over again. I do these workshops for folks that support families who have children with disabilities, to like community clinics that do health care and health education in the communities, to counseling groups, to substance use disorder, mental health organizations. So these are all staff that are working directly with folks. And the burnout rate, particularly since COVID, is so high. The turnover rate is so high that I have felt really blessed to be able to go in and share this message. And oftentimes when I do, Linda, then the staff want, like the organization will purchase my book for all their staff. They'll weave it into their staff meetings to have a conversation about, what have you done this week to nurture yourself that could inspire somebody else in the room. They really start prioritizing having more work-life balance. And so, doing team building. In the end of last year, I had the most amazing experience where I was able to do a workshop for Jewish Family Services for the staff that works directly with Holocaust survivors. And that was so meaningful to know that the work around avoiding compassion fatigue, really understanding how to nurture themselves, to come from a trauma-informed lens, not only for themselves, for the clients, but also for their colleagues. So many people that do nonprofit work have their own history of trauma and healing and overcoming, that it's just, to me, it's the ripple effects of this work is so profound, knowing that organizations are prioritizing that for their staff, and that then staff can weave that into how they work with clients. So they can take what I've taught them. I do a lot of stress management workshops and self-nurturing. They can take those strategies and teach them to their clients. So not only are they benefiting, but their clients are benefiting, their families are benefiting, and the ripples go out. I think that's what I love about this work, is that there are ripples that go out. Back to my thing of healing and transforming the world. I think we all have the ability to do that. That gives me so much hope in a world where there's so many challenges, that we could do something simply by how we treat ourselves and showing up in that way to support other people, that we can make a real difference in the world. And I oftentimes say, nurturing peace in the world from the inside out. And I believe it's all of that is accessible to us.
I believe too, and I've witnessed the work that you're doing in the world and see the effects, like you just said, just on these teams, right? That's a ripple effect. And it all starts with us. We're going to, we have a few more minutes before we have to take the next break. So I also know you have a course coming out when it's ready based on the art of self-nurturing. And I am super excited about that too. And I want to invite everyone, go to cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com. When you get there, Kelly has a powerful complimentary gift set for you. And it's called the Art of Self-Nurturing Starter Kit. It's stunning. There's a arrival technique guided meditation, permission to nurture yourself audio guide, gorgeous printable self-nurturing affirmations. Go grab your starter kit and you will receive notice when she is ready to release the course. That way you stay in the know, because I got to tell you, I've been peeking in the back end and this course is going to be powerful. So again, go to cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com to stay in the loop. Kelly, I think we'll jump to break now and then we'll come back for a final segment, my friend. We'll be back in a moment, ladies.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Your truest, deepest desires are calling you. The question is, will you answer the call? Former high-tech Fortune 500 leader Sharon Seberg knows how it feels to wear busyness as a badge of honor and to smother her dreams with the expectations of others. Walking away from her successful yet unfulfilling career, she chose to live a life connected to her intuitive wisdom and divine truth, and now lives a life of fulfillment, peace, and abundance. Today, Sharon is a neurotransformational coach, feminine power facilitator, and the visionary founder of the Soul Alignment Formula. She empathetically fuses cutting-edge neuroscience with intuitive coaching, supporting successful women to unlock their full potential so they can live a life of authenticity and freedom. Are you ready to excavate your deepest desires and bring them to life? Start by visiting SharonSeberg.com.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am thrilled to have my soul sister with me, self-nurturing expert Kelley Grimes. This is such a conversation all women need. We have to remember to nurture ourselves so we can respond with love instead of reacting from our sense of overwhelm. So in the last segment, Kelly, we've talked about so much, right? So what are some easy ways that we can start to prioritize ourselves? And I was thinking of that article in column that you had wrote that I mentioned earlier, because having simple ways to prioritize us, it makes it seem like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. So could you share some of the easy steps that we could do throughout the day?
Yes. You know, my favorite thing to do is actually put it in my calendar. What I found is that what's important to me, I find in my calendar. And it's a really good assessment when I look at my calendar. Am I making commitments to things that are important to me or am I not, But putting things in my calendar. So I put that first hour and I put sacred self-nurturing, and it's actually in my calendar. So I don't say yes to anything until after that time. So I love placing things in our calendar, and it doesn't have to be an hour at all, friends. It could be 5 minutes, right? But that you just highlighted it as a commitment that you've made to yourself. So I love that. I love taking some mindful pauses in the day. So one of the things I said, of course, is that you can do that by placing your hand on your heart. But there's another strategy called STOP, and that stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. So taking these short moments throughout the day to tune in to ourselves can help break that habit of overgiving, that habit of neglecting ourselves by simply weaving little moments of mindfulness in our day. So I like a mindful pause. You can put that also in your calendar and it can give you an alert to do that. But you also can do that before you eat food. Right? You know, there's a lot of times that people would pause and pray or have gratitude before they eat. Even those moments where you're pausing and connecting with intention to what you're doing in front of you will add to a sense of nurturing and that you are an important part of your life when you pause in those ways. You're going to start to notice things. I love that arrival technique that you talked about that I have recorded. The arrival technique does a beautiful job of guiding you through tuning into your breath, tuning into your body. So just noticing, our bodies have a whole lot of information and messages for us that we typically ignore until we get really sick or we have an injury or there's something bigger. So we could, start to nurture our bodies just by tuning in and saying, hey, where am I holding tension and tightness? Where might I have some pain? What's feeling good today? So we can celebrate what's going well in our bodies. So there's that. And then tuning into our thoughts, just noticing, our thoughts are very impactful to our stress. So when I tune into my thoughts when I'm not stressed, I can notice then when I start to be stressed, maybe my thoughts become more judgmental of myself or critical, or maybe I'm telling myself a message that's not helpful, like, oh, this always happens to me, or, oh, I can't do this. When we notice, when we take pauses to notice, we then can take an action of self-nurturing and love for ourselves. So if I notice any of those things, I might say, you are doing the best you can today, Kelly. Way to go that you keep, learning and growing the way that you are, or whatever it is that can be encouraging. I love the idea that pausing to be encouraging to ourselves, and feeding ourselves positive, uplifted messages like affirmations or other things could be another way to start to prioritize ourselves. So if you find that there's some critical thought that you have towards yourself, that you can transform into a positive, encouraging thought, and maybe you have that on your phone, maybe you have it on a piece of paper on your computer. Maybe you have it in your car as a reminder. I am learning and growing, or my affirmation is, I am love. I choose love. I radiate love. And I actually put that on the top of my calendar every day. I have a written calendar as well as an electric one, or one on my phone. Electronic is what I was trying to say. And so I actually write that down in my written one because it guides me to how I want to live. And that living in alignment with what's important to me is a beautiful way to prioritize yourself. So just knowing that there's really small, impactful things that we can do that don't have to feel overwhelming. So many people that I work with are overwhelmed. So we want to start really small. And then, Linda, we want to celebrate ourselves. So when you've paused before you go to the next thing, like, way to go, me. I just took a moment to check in with myself. I'm really, really grateful that I did that for myself. So acknowledging ourselves along the way is also reinforcing the how important it is to prioritize ourselves for us, not for anybody else, right? It's not like you have to do any of this. Self-nurturing is about choice. It's about empowerment. And it's really coming from a deep place of love and compassion for ourselves.
And I love that. And something, the mindful pauses is one I really love because I take it throughout the day where 15 years ago it'd be like, I'm just going to stay focused and, keep going. That mindful pause, you can do it in 1 minute, 3 minutes, 7 minutes. There's really no excuse not to do it. But what I love is it brings me back so I know I'm living with intention and not on autopilot. And I think many of us, especially creatives and just family programming, we get into that autopilot and we're not even living our lives, we're existing in our lives. So everything about your message to me is always about, and this is my message, about living with intention. Like, I think those mindful pauses that's one of my favorites.
Yes, and it's intention and inspiration. Because the more
Yeah.
we are connected to ourselves, the more inspired we feel, right? We have access to the magic and the miracles and the beauty and the joy of being who we are here on this planet, just as we are, right? To spread who and what our love and light out in the world.
Yeah, and for me, there's something else you said about the affirmations, and I call them mantras too. Even like I'll give you, when I was healing from my surgery, when I listened to what the doctors and surgeons say, you can go into that story. But I did what you had just mentioned every day, even though I could only take 25 steps at the beginning. I looked at it like you did in that situation with your mom. Look at that, Linda. You took 25 steps today. And then as I kept going, I'd do a mantra. With every step, I get stronger and stronger. Now, those sound like Pollyanna things, but I'm going to tell you, your subconscious is always listening. That was powerful for me for healing. And that's just one example, as you use that beautiful example of even in the painful journey with your mom, you brought yourself back into your heart to say, I'm going to see the blessings in this, and as small as they might have been. That's this whole real conversation, right? Is making the choice to nurture and love yourself in every moment using the variety of tools that Kelly shares in her book, The Art of Self-Nurturing, or some that you may know, ladies. So we have about 3 minutes left, Kelly. Is there some more juicy wisdom or reminders you want to share with our listeners?
I think the biggest thing I would love for people to take away from this conversation is that you matter, that you have value, that who you are and how you show up in the world is a gift to the world. And so when we start to treat ourselves like we are a gift, that we have this precious connection to who we are, I think we're able to express more of ourselves authentically, with love, creatively, with joy. I think that it's a self-fulfilling cycle to nurture ourselves and to really transform that old mindset that told us that to have value, we had to care for everybody else in exclusion to us and include ourselves in it. We can do that. And just taking one step can make a huge difference. It doesn't have to be big. I just want people to know, just starting to bring more intention to how you love and nurture and really respect yourself will allow you to flourish and really move out of survival into thriving in a way that's authentic for you. And you can do it. You can do it.
Beautiful, my friend. And I want to invite everyone, visit cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com, download that free self-nurturing starter kit. Kelly's email newsletters, they speak to your soul, my friends, as well as this powerful starter kit will get you on the path of nurturing yourself. And you'll be one of the first to know when the course is released. And Kelly, I just want to say you are such a part of the Aspire magazine family, but you're also such an important part of my life, my friend. So I love and appreciate you, and am so blessed to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much, Linda.
And until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey, that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.